Have you ever wondered what you'd do if tomorrow morning scientists announce we've made contact with aliens? Not the Hollywood kind with flying saucers landing on the White House lawn. Something quieter, a signal from the stars. I sometimes think about this when I can't sleep. On August 15th, 1977, something happened that still gives astronomers chills. The Big Ear radio telescope in Ohio was doing its usual thing, scanning the sky, listening to the cosmic static that fills the universe. Then it heard something different. For 72 seconds, a signal came through from the constellation Sagittarius. It was 30 times stronger than the background noise. When Jerry Emmon, the astronomer on duty, saw the printout the next morning, he grabbed a red pen and wrote "Wow" in the margin. That's what we call it now, the wow signal. Here's the thing that keeps me up at night. We've never heard it again. Astronomers have pointed every telescope we have at that exact spot in the sky. Nothing. Silence. For over 40 years, that signal has remained our best candidate for an actual message from another civilization. And we have no idea what it was. But let me back up a bit. 4.5 billion years ago, Earth was just another ball of rock forming in the vastness of space. The universe had already been around for nearly 10 billion years by then. Think about that for a second. Actually, Carl Sagan had this beautiful way of explaining it. He said if the universe's entire history was compressed into 1 year, the Big Bang would happen on January 1st. The sun wouldn't form until September 8th. Earth shows up on September 11th. And humans? We'd appear at 11:39 p.m. on December 31st, 21 minutes before midnight on the last day of the year. So when we look up at the night sky and ask, is anyone out there? Well, the universe has had plenty of time to cook up an answer. The Milky Way alone has somewhere around 100 billion stars. We used to think planets were rare, special things. Turns out they're as common as, well, one scientist put it perfectly, as common as cheap hotels. There are probably a trillion planets just in our galaxy. A trillion. If life only appears on a tiny, tiny fraction of those worlds, the universe should still be teeming with it. Unless Earth is a miracle. And scientists really don't like believing in miracles. It's not good for business, as they say. I grew up in the 90s when we still weren't sure if other stars even had planets. Now we know better. The Kepler Space Telescope changed everything when NASA launched it in 2009. It's been finding planets left and right, thousands of them. About 1 in 5 stars seems to have a planet that could have liquid water. That's tens of billions of Earth-like worlds just in our neighborhood of space. The thing is, we've been shouting into the void for a while now. Back in 1974, we sent our first real message to the stars. It was pretty simple, just 3 minutes long, beamed from the Arecibo telescope in Puerto Rico. The message had the basics: our number system, the chemical elements important for life, a stick figure drawing of humans, our solar system. Kind of like a cosmic business card. We aimed it at a star cluster 25,000 light years away. If anyone's there and they answer immediately, we'll hear back in the year 51,974. Yeah, space is big. The Voyager missions in 1977 were more ambitious. We attached golden records to both spacecraft. They're still out there, drifting through interstellar space right now. Each record has greetings in 55 languages, music from around the world, Bach, Mozart, Louis Armstrong playing melancholy blues, traditional songs from different cultures. There are sounds too: volcanoes, thunder, laughter, a baby crying, wind through trees. Someone on the committee wanted to include the Beatles' Here Comes the Sun, but EMI wouldn't give permission. Imagine that. Aliens might never know the Beatles existed because of copyright issues. There's even a Latin message: per aspera ad astra, through hardship to the stars. The records also have 116 pictures encoded on them. mathematical definitions, DNA structure, a violin with musical notation, people from different cultures. It's probably the most earnest thing humanity has ever done. This golden disk spinning through the darkness, carrying our hellos to whoever might be listening. The ultimate message in a bottle, except the ocean is infinite and the bottle is traveling at 38,000 miles per hour. Sometimes I wonder what aliens would make of it. Would they understand? Would they care? The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, started as a NASA program back in the 1960s. It had a good run until 1993, when Senator Richard Bryan from Nevada killed the funding. He really went after it too, made sure NASA couldn't try again the next year. So the scientists did what scientists do. They found another way. They created the nonprofit SETI Institute and started raising money privately. These days, SETI uses some impressive toys. The Allen Telescope Array in Northern California has 42 radio dishes all working together, scanning the sky. They want to expand it to 350 dishes eventually. Paul Allen, the Microsoft co-founder, funded the first phase. In just its first few months, it analyzed as much sky as SETI had covered in the previous 45 years. But my favorite project is SETI Home. It started in 1999, and it's genius in its simplicity. You download a screensaver, and while your computer's idle, it processes radio telescope data, looking for patterns that might be artificial. Over 5 million people have participated. Regular folks, sitting at home, possibly being the first to spot a message from another world. There's something beautiful about that. The data they're analyzing comes from Arecibo, the same telescope that sent our message in 1974. Now, it's listening instead of talking. We're not just listening randomly anymore either. Thanks to Kepler, we know which stars have planets. We know which ones might have Earth-like worlds. We can point our telescopes at the most promising targets. It's like the difference between randomly dialing phone numbers and having a directory. Frank Drake came up with an equation back in 1961 to estimate how many alien civilizations might be out there trying to communicate. The Drake equation, as it's called, looks at things like how fast stars form, how many have planets, how many planets might support life, and so on. You multiply all these factors together and get a number. Drake's estimate was 10,000 civilizations in our galaxy alone. Carl Sagan thought it might be 1 million. Some pessimists say it's just one, us. The biggest unknown in the equation isn't about planets or biology. It's about time. How long does a technological civilization last? We've only been broadcasting radio signals for about a century. Will we make it another century? Another 1,000 years? The universe doesn't care about our timeline. But for two civilizations to talk, they need to overlap in time, not just space. Here's where it gets a bit depressing, actually. We're what scientists call a technological adolescent civilization. We've figured out how to split the atom and broadcast radio waves, but we haven't figured out how not to destroy ourselves with those same technologies. The equation basically asks, will we grow up or will we burn out? When Enrico Fermi was working on the Manhattan Project, building the atomic bomb, he asked a simple question that still haunts us. Where is everybody? If the universe is so vast and so old, if planets are so common, if life should be everywhere, where are all the aliens? This is Fermi's paradox. And honestly, nobody has a great answer. Maybe space travel is just too hard, even for advanced civilizations. The distances are mind-boggling. The nearest star to Earth is 4.3 light years away. With our current technology, it would take 70,000 years to get there. Maybe everyone just stays home and sends radio signals instead. It's a lot cheaper and nobody dies of old age on the way. Or maybe we're not that interesting. If a civilization can cross between stars, they're probably thousands or millions of years ahead of us. We might be as fascinating to them as an anthill is to us. Would you stop to explain quantum mechanics to ants? Actually, don't answer that. I know people who probably would try. There's another possibility that I find oddly comforting. Maybe the galaxy is full of life, but we're too primitive to notice. Like a person from a stone age wouldn't recognize our Wi-Fi signals as communication. Maybe advanced civilizations communicate in ways we haven't even imagined yet. The signals we've detected over the years, the ones we can't explain, they keep me wondering. Besides the WOW signal, there was SHGB02 plus 14A, detected in 2003 by someone running SETI at home. Out of 5 billion signals analyzed, this was one of the very few that couldn't be dismissed as interference or natural phenomena. It had a high statistical chance of being artificial. Then there was a signal detected near Gliese 581, which we later confirmed has potentially habitable planets. Just 20 light years away, practically next door in cosmic terms. NASA's own website, in their Astronomy Picture of the Day section, admitted about one of these signals. No one knows for sure what caused this signal. There is a slight possibility that it just might originate from an extraterrestrial intelligence. That's NASA talking, not some conspiracy website. They're saying, essentially, we don't know what this is and aliens aren't off the table. But here's the protocol if we ever confirm a real signal. Tell everyone immediately. SETI has been very clear about this. No cover-ups, no secret meetings. The moment they confirm contact, the world knows. They've had false alarms before, and every time the media goes crazy. Phone calls, interviews, breaking news alerts. If aliens ever call, you'll hear about it on Twitter before the scientists finish their coffee. Seth Shostak from SETI went before Congress and said we'll find evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence in the next 20 years. That was in 2014. So according to him, we've got about 10 years left. He said the chances are good, depending on financing. Even the search for aliens comes with budget constraints. The Royal Society held a conference in 2010 called The Detection of Extraterrestrial Life and the Consequences for Science and Society. Very British, very proper. The introduction basically said, we might find aliens soon, and we have absolutely no idea what that means for humanity. So perhaps we should think about it. They came up with protocols. There's actually a document called the Declaration of Principles Concerning Activities Following the Detection of Extraterrestrial Intelligence. It's exactly as bureaucratic as it sounds. But the main point is reasonable. If we get a message, everyone should be involved in deciding if and how we respond. This isn't America's aliens or China's aliens. They're Earth's aliens. The big question isn't really whether they exist. Most scientists think they probably do. The question is what they're like. Will they be biological? We're already developing artificial intelligence here on Earth. In another century, our own machines might be smarter than us. So if we're talking to civilization that's thousands or millions of years older, are we talking to their machines? Have they uploaded their consciousness into computers? Have they merged into some kind of galactic internet of minds? Actually, that's an interesting thought. Within 100 years, we might develop thinking machines. Real AI, not just clever programming. So if we pick up a signal from space, statistically speaking, it's probably not coming from a biological being like us. It's coming from their machines, or what used to be them before they upgraded. The distances involved in space mean any conversation is going to be weird. If we get a message from a star 100 light years away and send a response, it'll take 200 years to get an answer back. That's 8 generations. Your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren might hear the reply to your hello. Unless, of course, they can travel faster than light, which physics says is impossible. But then again, physics once said heavier than air flight was impossible, so who knows? Stephen Hawking warned us not to transmit to aliens. He said they might come and strip mine Earth for resources. But honestly, that's like worrying that America will invade your country for the sand in your sandbox, when there are entire beaches everywhere. Any civilization that can travel between stars won't need our stuff. The universe is full of resources. Water, metals, energy, it's all out there in quantities that make Earth look like a grain of sand. Plus, we've been broadcasting radio and TV signals for decades. If hostile aliens are out there with the technology to reach us, they already know we're here. They've been watching our TV shows since the 1950s. Imagine, the first thing aliens learn about humanity might be I Love Lucy reruns. One solution to Fermi's paradox that I find a bit terrifying is what scientists call the Great Filter. The idea is that somewhere between dead chemistry and galaxy-spanning civilizations, there's a step that's almost impossible to get past. Maybe it's the jump from single-celled to multicellular life. Maybe it's developing intelligence. Maybe it's surviving the invention of nuclear weapons. If we haven't found aliens yet, either the Great Filter is behind us, which means we're incredibly special and lucky, or it's ahead of us, which means we're probably doomed. Fun thought to fall asleep to, right? But here's what gives me hope: the sheer audacity of the search. We're one species on one planet around one star among billions, and we're scanning the sky asking, is anyone home? That takes a special kind of optimism. Or desperation. Maybe both. When I was a kid, I remember looking up at the stars and feeling very small. Now when I look up, I still feel small, but I also feel like I'm part of something bigger. Not in a mystical way, in a very literal way. The carbon in our bodies was forged in the hearts of dying stars. We're made of cosmic stuff, as Carl Sagan used to say. Actually, here's something wild. The atoms in your right hand probably came from a different star than the atoms in your left hand. We're walking collections of processed stardust, wondering if there are other collections of stardust out there wondering about us. The active SETI crowd, the ones who want to send messages instead of just listening. They have interesting ideas about what to say, so I want to send the entire internet. Just beam it all out there and let the aliens sort through it. Wikipedia, cat videos, angry comment sections, everything. It would be the most honest representation of humanity possible. Also the most embarrassing. Others think we should stick to mathematics and science, the universal languages. But even that's tricky. We use base 10 mathematics because we have 10 fingers. Aliens might have 8 fingers or tentacles or nothing we'd recognize as fingers. Their math might look completely different. Music might be universal, though. The physics of sound waves, harmonics, rhythm. These might translate across species. Or maybe music is uniquely human, and aliens will listen to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony with complete bewilderment. Why are these creatures making patterned atmospheric vibrations? The Voyager Golden Record tried to cover all bases. Science, math, music, images, sounds of Earth. But there's something almost heartbreaking about it. By the time any alien finds it, humanity might be long gone. It could be our only legacy, this golden disk spinning through the void, carrying dead languages and extinct songs to civilizations we'll never meet. I actually tried to calculate once how far Voyager has traveled since 1977. It's about 14 billion miles from Earth now. Sound impressive until you realize that's only 0.002 light years. It won't reach another star system for 40,000 years. And that's assuming it doesn't hit anything, which in space is actually pretty easy to avoid since space is mostly space. The more we learn about extremophiles, organisms that live in extreme conditions here on Earth, the more we realize life might be possible in places we never imagined. We've found bacteria living in boiling water, in solid rock miles underground, in the radioactive cooling pools of nuclear reactors. Life, it turns out, is incredibly stubborn. So maybe we're being too Earth-centric in our search. Maybe life doesn't need water and carbon. Maybe it can be based on silicon or exist in the clouds of gas giants or in the icy oceans under Europa's surface. Maybe we're looking for the wrong signatures entirely. But water and carbon are still our best bet. Carbon is amazing at forming complex molecules. It's like the Lego brick of the universe. And water is an incredible solvent. So while alien life might be weird, it might not be that weird. Chemistry is chemistry, wherever you go. You know what nobody really talks about? How we'll feel the day after we make contact. Not the day of. That'll be chaos. Media frenzy, emergency UN sessions, probably some people claiming they knew it all along. But the day after, when you still have to go to work, make dinner, pay bills. Your life doesn't stop just because we're not alone anymore. I think about the scientists who'll make the discovery. Imagine being the person who confirms the signal. You'd go from nobody knowing your name to being in history books forever. The person who proved we're not alone. That's got to mess with your head a bit. SETI actually has psychologists thinking about this stuff. How do you tell the world? What words do you use? Do you lead with "don't panic," or just rip off the Band-Aid? There's no precedent for this. When Columbus reached the Americas, at least both sides were human. This would be something else entirely. The religious implications alone are staggering. Some faiths would adapt easily. Buddhism and Hinduism already include the possibility of life on other worlds. But others might struggle. If humanity isn't unique, what does that mean for souls, for salvation, for our place in creation? Though honestly, many theologians have already thought about this. The Vatican even has astronomers on staff. They're prepared, theoretically. Science would change overnight. Not just astronomy, everything. Biology would have a second data point for how life works. Maybe alien DNA, if they even have DNA, uses different base pairs. Maybe they've solved problems we haven't even identified yet. Or maybe, and this would be weird, they're exactly like us, suggesting some kind of universal template for life. The message itself might be impossible to decode at first. We assume aliens would start simple, prime numbers, basic math, universal constants. But their simple might be our complex. Or worse, the message might not be for us at all. We might intercept something meant for another civilization, like finding someone else's mail in your inbox. Here's a thought that haunts me sometimes. What if the message is a warning? Not a threat, but a caution. Don't use nuclear power. Avoid artificial intelligence. Whatever you do, don't answer messages from the Zorgans at coordinates XYZ. We'd have no context, no way to know if we should trust it. The time delay issue is brutal for actual conversation. If we're lucky and contact someone in the Alpha Centauri system, that's still 4.3 years each way. You could send a message as a child and get a response as a teenager. Imagine diplomatic negotiations where every exchange takes a decade. Patience would become humanity's most important virtue. But maybe we wouldn't need to talk. Maybe just knowing would be enough. Jill Tarter from SETI says that if we detect a signal from a distant civilization, it means at least one thing. It's possible for a technological species to survive long term. They made it through their nuclear age, their climate crises, their whatever comes next. That's the proof of concept humanity desperately needs. We're like teenagers who just got their driver's license, speeding around assuming we're immortal. Finding an older civilization would be like meeting someone who's been driving for decades. Oh, you survived? How? The technology exchange possibilities are mind-bending, assuming we could understand it. Imagine if someone from the year 1800 found a smartphone. They wouldn't even have the concepts to understand what it does. It's a device that accesses invisible information waves transmitted through the air from towers connected to underground cables that span the ocean. Right? Good luck with that. Any aliens we contact are probably going to be either way behind us or way ahead. The chances of finding someone at exactly our technological level are basically zero. If they're behind us, we probably can't detect them, which means anyone we hear from is probably far more advanced. That's actually kind of terrifying when you think about it. We'd be the primitive ones in the conversation, the cosmic kindergartners trying to talk to the PhD students. But we're doing it anyway. Right now, as you're reading this, radio telescopes are scanning the sky. Computers are analyzing data. Someone, somewhere, might be looking at a signal that doesn't quite fit the pattern of natural phenomena. The wow moment of our generation might be happening right now, and we won't know until tomorrow's news. The Allen Telescope Array has looked at about 10,000 stars so far. In the next couple of decades, they plan to check a million stars, each potentially hosting worlds, each world potentially hosting life, each life potentially wondering if they're alone. The odds are actually pretty good when you think about it. Not certainty, but good enough to keep searching. And the technology keeps improving. Computing power doubles every couple of years. Our telescopes get better. Our analysis gets smarter. We're entering an age where we can actually do this properly, not just hope and guess. Some scientists think we'll find simple life first. Microbes on Mars, bacteria on Europa, something tiny and unambiguous but not intelligent. That would be huge too, by the way. It would mean life isn't unique to Earth, that given the right conditions, life happens. The universe would go from possibly empty to probably full. But intelligent life, that's the real prize. Someone to talk to, even if the conversation takes centuries. Another perspective on existence. Do they have art? Music? Do they love? Do they wonder about the meaning of it all? Or do they figure it out already? I sometimes wonder if first contact has already happened and we don't know it. Not in a conspiracy theory way, but literally maybe someone detected a signal years ago, filed it as unknown, and moved on. The WOW signal itself was found by accident. How many other WOWs have we missed because nobody was looking at the right data at the right time? The universe doesn't owe us contact on our timeline. It's 13.8 billion years old. Humanity's entire existence is a rounding error in cosmic time. But here we are, right now, at possibly the only moment in our species' history when we can actually search properly. That's either incredible timing or incredible hubris. Every generation thinks they're living in the most important time. But for this one specific thing, finding out if we're alone, we actually might be. Our grandparents couldn't do this search. Our grandchildren might not need to, because we'll have already found them. Or found nothing, which would be an answer too. Finding nothing after a thorough search will be the loneliest discovery in human history. It would mean this whole vast universe, with its trillions of planets and billions of years, produced exactly one instance of something able to wonder about itself. Just us forever alone in the dark. But I don't think that's what we'll find. The universe is too big, too old, too full of possibilities. Somewhere out there, someone else is probably looking up at their night sky, or day sky, or whatever they have, and wondering the same thing we are. The day we make contact, everything changes. Not in a Hollywood sense. No motherships, no invasions, probably no physical meetings for centuries, if ever. But the knowledge itself would fundamentally alter what it means to be human. We'd go from being the only known intelligence to being one of at least two. From alone to accompanied. From unique to part of a community. And honestly, I can't wait. Even if it happens when I'm old, even if I barely understand the announcement, because the science has advanced beyond my ability to follow, I want to be there when we find out. Because in all the universe, in all of time, this might be the most important question a species can answer. Are we alone? The answer, whatever it is, will echo through the rest of human history. Every child born after that day will grow up in a universe where we know. No more wondering, no more guessing. Just the truth, whatever that truth might be. Until then, we keep listening. We keep looking. We keep sending our hopeful messages into the dark, like lighthouse keepers who've never seen a ship but faithfully tend the light anyway, just in case someone out there needs to find their way home. Or find us.